Somebody needs to actually pinch me right now because I cannot be living in a reality where both of my top games, most anticipated games of 2024 are here sitting on my desk right now. Bonds, where you at? Welcome back, everyone, to the Wolfpack. It's so good to see you all. I like blink, and then all of a sudden, there's no upload for like 21 days. And I'm like, how? How has there been no video for 21 days? So I set aside everything. I don't care about deadlines right now. I do care. But I'm going to put this video out because there have been so many things behind the scenes that have been happening. And if I can't show you what's happening, at least I can tell you and like premise you with things that are coming on. So let's just do a quick update and then we'll talk about the awesome games that have been played last month in June 2024. So first off, let's go ahead and announce the random giveaway winner right here for Oathsworn. A huge congratulations and thank you all so much for supporting my channel for the 30K subs that we hit a month ago, 2 months ago, some time ago. Time flies. Time freaking flies. But as always, I am so grateful for every single one of you that is here to support my channel and to watch the random things that I do and the cinematic things that I do and just everything, you know? So as a thank you, I did want to give away a random copy to Oathsworn. Congratulations to the winner. I am actually traveling for the next 2 weeks, but the second I'm back, I will definitely send this out. So go ahead and email me and we will get it going from there. Brand new in-string copy of Oathsworn. Ooh. First off, what's coming? So the next Neopets like gameplay highlights is just like a 2-minute overview, but it is like a pretty cinematic overview where me and Bonds are like actually playing through the game. And it was, I think it's gonna be used as like a trailer for Upper Deck. So that's coming. And then we also have Luthier, the preview for that one. If you saw some BTS that I posted on Instagram, that one's gonna be a wild one where we actually went out to an auditorium, rented it out and filmed it from there with the whole team. Team here is growing, which is really cool. I am, like I mentioned before, we are actively training some new photographers and videographers. That way it helps like offload some of the stuff that I have to do. And at the same time, it also ups the production here so we can do more crazy things. So that is in the works. And then I also have like 5 commercials that are all done and they're just sitting there. Some have been even waiting for months. And I think within the next 1 to 2 months, they'll be coming out back to back. So we'll definitely be doing some commercial breakdowns on the channel, and that hasn't been done in a hot minute. So that's the first major update, is just a bunch of really cool stuff that's happening in the next month or two. And then the second thing I wanted to tell you about was, oh, right, so Gen Con. I'm not going to be able to make it to Gen Con this year, unfortunately, which is really, really sad. I really wanted to go and check out all the brand new games and just say hi to everybody, but I won't be able to make it there. Instead, I will be filming some other stuff that's a really, really big, fun things that I can't share just yet, but it's in the works. And that's literally all I can say about everything. Honestly, from like now until October, there are so many cool things that are going to be filmed that I just cannot wait to share. I am like just sitting here anxious. I just want to tell people what we're doing, but I can't just yet. So I think the best way to like see some behind the scenes for that is to just follow me on Instagram, where we can at least post some stuff where we can like cover up some things, but then show what we're doing and where we're at. So definitely follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the games played in June. Okay, so June honestly was one of the best months in gaming because we had so many good games played. And we start off this month with Black Rose Wars Rebirth. Josh got schooled, literally, in this game. And it was not fair for me to do that to him, but you know, it is what it is, Josh. I'm sorry. Black Rose Wars Rebirth continues to be such a great hit with our gaming group. Honestly, if it's just a core box without any other schools of Magic, it would still be incredibly fun. But for me, I always like to add new things just so we can get through the expansion and so we can experiment with all the new spells. So we did try out a couple new ones. One was with the Druid Mage, and that's one where you can, I think you can use like an alligator and you can like turn into like a bear form and stuff. And just the whole concept behind that was incredibly fun. And I do want to play around with avatars a lot more because we haven't been playing with avatars at all since we've been playing at like 3 to 4 players, but maybe at 2 it would be good to actually play with the avatar. I just don't like controlling an AI when I'm playing games in general, unless I'm like doing it solo. But with people, it kind of like takes away from it. So I don't know how I feel about the AI in Black Rose Wars Rebirth just yet. The maintenance is pretty easy overall, so I wouldn't mind it, but we just haven't been actively using that one. Now, we did also get to play Black Rose Rebirth at 4 players, and I did want to mention this one because it was freaking funny. I got to summon this monster called Putridum. And Putridum is crazy because it can have 3 upgrades assigned. Now, normally in Black Rose Wars, when you have a monster, when you have like an undead minion or whatever, you can have 1 upgrade assigned to it. And the upgrade is usually pretty strong. Like it gives you 2 more health so it can survive longer. It can have like more strength in battle. But this one, this was a Black Rose spell. I forget what the actual, Forgotten spell. It was a Forgotten spell, and because of that, it breaks a lot of rules in that it just becomes like a Super Saiyan monster. And so this monster specifically can have 3 upgrades assigned to it. It had 2 movement, which was okay, like the speed was like a normal player, and then it had 4 strength. Mind you, the normal health that mages have in the game is 9. So this is already hitting at half your health when it just hits you raw. And then it also has 4 health, which is also more than normal in this game. So imagine 3 upgrades assigned to it. And then the actual 3 upgrades that I had were, let's see, one was Cerebral Implant. So every time a model inflicts damage, its controller, I think, gains 1 victory point. And I had 2 Cerebral Implants to that. And then a Muscular Implant where it gives another additional damage to that. So this was like, imagine this abomination just walking around the board, attacking people. And I took that win for that game. And it was just so freaking funny. I just love that game. And then we moved on to Bantam West next. So Bantam also continues to be such a great hit for us too, because I just love being able to explore all the different winning conditions in that game. Because normally in the past couple games I've played, I've just been kind of turtling there in a bit and just generating a lot of resources on that particular acre of land. And then I'll come back and like fight when people are like around me. But then the second and third time I've been playing, and we've also been remembering to trigger events, because it's really easy to forget events, because every time you move from like one tile to another tile, an event gets triggered. And sometimes you're moving from like the different tiles like in the frontier to the town. So then it'll trigger 2 events. And usually we forget that a lot, but now we've been remembering it, and the game just really has been escalating a lot. So Bantam was, again, a very successful hit for us too. Okay, now from there, on June 11th, we got to play Aquatica Cold Waters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. This was my most played game this month. And that's not surprising, because you all know how much I rave about Aquatica, and it just continues also like the past 2 games. I probably shouldn't be telling this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. The reason why we keep playing Aquatica is because it's the one game that Jackie just cannot beat me in for some reason. It's like, it clicks with me so well. This is like the one game that Jackie just cannot beat me in, and it cracks me up. And she doesn't want to stop playing until she gets a win. And that's why we kept playing Aquatica again and again and again. Because for some reason, like if you ever watched Hunter x Hunter, and there's this part where Meruem is talking about the rhythm of the game that they're playing between him and, I think, Komagi is the girl he's playing with. But it's like a chess game in the anime. And he talks about a rhythm, and it's such an insightful, really, really, honestly, like a life-changing speech. If you've never watched Hunter x Hunter, you need to watch it. But basically, he talks about how there's a whole rhythm in life. And when you see the rhythm in another person, it just clicks like that. And I feel like that's the rhythm that I see in Aquatica, because it's so clear to me. And Jackie just cannot see the rhythm there. And that's why we keep playing it, because she gets so frustrated in losing that we just keep playing it over and over again. And we played with Cold Waters. Honestly, I was kind of indifferent about the first expansion when it first came out, because the tribes module is okay. It doesn't really like change the gameplay too much for me in a part where like I want to play it with the tribes module. We mostly play it for the new character cards. But I did get the latest expansion in. Huge thank you to Arcane Wonders for sending that one over. And that is going to be Coral Reefs, which I cannot wait to be diving into very, very soon. And then that day, honestly, I was like on fire for winning games, which is like very, very unheard of. I usually lose many games that we play, but we also got to play our one playthrough of Dwellings of Eldervale that month, and I took the win easily. Like, she got swept. I don't think she was just off her game that day. And I played as, I think it was the dwarves again. So I got to play as the dwarves, got to capitalize a lot on the gold in that game, and it was super fun as always. However, got a lot to tell you about the next iteration of Dwellings in a bit. But till we get there, we have a couple more games that we played that month. We also got to play Wandering Towers. I played this with my niece. She absolutely loves this game, and it's such a fun game to play with kids too because it's so easy. So this game is by Capstone Games, and in Wandering Towers, how it works is you draw cards, and it's really easy because the card is going to tell you to move a certain number of spaces, or you can move the towers a couple of spaces too. And then when you move the towers, if that tower goes on top of another wizard, then you're going to capture their magic and then fill up your potion bottle. And the goal of this game is to get all of your wizards into this tower called Raven's Keep. And the potions that you collect along the way by capturing other players' wizards allows you to gain new abilities. So we didn't play too much with like the magical spells because she's still kind of like learning the deeper and heavier game. So this was a bit heavier for her if you were to incorporate all the spells, but she loved it overall. And I am low-key debating about teaching her Dwelling. I feel like she can learn that game, and I think she's open to it too. Next up this month, got to play an epic solo game that we also played cooperatively as well, and that is Slay the Spire. I am making a full review about this game. I love it. This is such a good game. So I played it solo at first. I made it through Act 1, and I got it to Act 2 and just got freaking demolished. And how this game works is, if you never played the mobile game, I play this game every single night. I kid you not. I played it every single night ever since we traveled to Europe and did a whole vlogging series about traveling to different board game stores there. So in Slay the Spire, the board game, it's ultimately a deck builder, and you choose 1 out of 4 characters, and each one is very different. You have like a poison rogue type character, you have a warrior, you have almost like a mage character that's like a glass cannon, and then lastly is the most random character. This is like the engineer type character where it summons orbs, and these orbs just kind of fire off and attack everybody. So each character is very different. And as you're building your deck, what's really cool about this game is that as you approach different parts of the dungeon, you get to add in more cards to your deck. Because when you defeat a monster, you get rewards. When you defeat elites, you get even better rewards. When you come across like a merchant, and when you come across like a campfire, you get to upgrade your cards by turning your cards over to the other side and then leaving them in, and this becomes your brand new cards for the deck. And it's so much fun, and I think it translated really, really well over to the board game. We absolutely loved it. Playing it solo, I love how fast paced it is, and then when we played it cooperatively, it is a bit slower because of course you have a bunch of AP in your group. You guys are killing me with these 5-minute turns. But it was the very first cooperative game that we've ever played all together, and it was incredibly fun. It was way more fun than I thought it'd be, and I think the game sets you up for that because everyone really has their own actions, and we are fighting together. We're fighting in our own row of monsters, but then we can help each other out and dish out damage to different rows. So I think that cooperative element plays really well here in Slay the Spire, and I can't wait to talk about that one more. After that, the game that we finished up with that night was Raw. Now, this one took me a bit to remember. We played it really wrong for the first round because I didn't have everyone take their auction tiles to flip it over to the other side when they actually bought the tiles and brought it back. But then still really fun. Still definitely a top game for me because it's just really quick, and it's a nice way to finish the night because it's still very rewarding in that you're playing this psychological game with other players as you're trying to bid for this open market. If you're unfamiliar with Raw, definitely check out my video. I've covered about it. I've talked a lot about Raw. I like Raw because it's different, it's fast, and as simple as it is, you still have a lot of set collection elements that you get to play around with. So it feels different every time. And then after that, I went to the Cardboard Alchemy headquarters, and from there, Peter got to teach me Disney Lorcana. And this was the first time I ever got to actually play through the game. I've had the cards for a bit, and I've never actually played through with another person, but we played a 3-player game of Lorcana. And I will say, from the first time I've ever playing, I will say that it was way lighter than I was anticipating. I thought it'd have a lot more complexity to it, but it's a very light game. And I do like how it's very familiar to Magic, where you're ultimately trying to take a set of resources and put it into your inkwell every single turn. So you take a card that from your hand, put it into your inkwell, and that becomes your resources that you can use to pay for cards coming forward. I did like the familiarity with Magic in that, but I got to play with the Aladdin deck, where I think it's a lot about card removal and almost instant kills. I had Dragon's Breath, and that card pretty much destroys another person, which is really fun to play, but of course it's very costly. So I just saved those cards for the very end where I just played Dragon's Breath back to back to back, and it was really funny. But I think it was a lot slower paced and a lot lighter than I was hoping, because apparently there are no card interruptions for either player's turn. I'm not a fan of that immediately, because the reason why I like these TCGs is so that way there's interaction on both sides of the table. Like I love being able to interrupt someone else's plays and them having to interrupt my plays, and just that makes it way more interactive. But the fact that Lorcana avoids that is, if it's true, definitely is a downer for me. And then from there, we got to play the big one. Finally, I can't believe Andromeda's Edge is finally here. And don't worry, the big video for this is coming. The big videos is coming for this. And I do have some preliminary thoughts, and let me go ahead and premise this real quick. Okay, these are very, very initial early thoughts about this game, and I still want to tell you about it. So I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about it from the very first couple plays we've had of it. So when we got to Carbon Alchemy, we did play a 4-player game of this, and it was epic. Like, the prototype was already extremely nice in terms of production for the raiders and for like all the components and everything, but seeing this in its final form is incredible. Like, I cannot, like, it just blew my expectations away. I already have expectations set super high for this, and the fact that when I get to see it in person and I see how much work was put into it and the production value and all the inserts, so much care has gone into this game. And let me tell you now, it did not let me down, and I know it's not gonna let you down either, because it's so fun. This game is so good, y'all. It is so good. A couple things I want to say about it now before I do my full comprehensive review about it, and that is, it is different. It is very different from its prototype form, and not in a bad way. I think all the elements that they enhanced in it has definitely been a lot like for the better, because there's now this event tracker on the board where you can choose the type of deck that you want to play with. You can play with like the hostile, aggressive deck, or you can play with the nice and peaceful deck where all good things happen. Of course, you know me, and I played with the hostile deck immediately, and it is crazy. Like, I thought the events would be like, oh, okay, whatever. No, they're bad, and it's funny too. I loved how bad these events were, because it just makes a very tumultuous gameplay, and the interaction between players just becomes that much more exciting. So there's an event board now. That's a huge change to it. The second main thing that I feel is pretty different are the amount of raiders, because now all the raiders are available. It's not just one set like from last time. And the fact that you can mix and match all these raiders together, so good. Immediately, what I've already kind of cemented already from 3 plays now, I've played this at 4 players, 3 players, and 2 players. And from those 3 plays so far, I absolutely love it way more than its prototype form. It's a game that I do not want to stop playing, period. And I will say though, like compared to Dwellings, the tactics cards in this deck, I think is just better, flat out, than Dwellings, just from these 3 plays. And the reason why is because in Dwellings, you have these magic cards. And the magic cards are really fun, but the downside to them that I've voiced many times before is the variability. You don't have as many options as I would like in that game. And then also, the magic cards aren't played as often because they usually have some pretty hefty requirements, like you have to have, level 3 on water, or you have to have a specific element mastered, or you have to pay some amount of resources, or maybe they're too conditional. So they're not bad in any sense. It's just that those are if like I'm really nitpicking, those are like the downsides to the magic cards in Dwellings, because obviously Dwellings is my #1 game of all time. It's #1 for a reason, right? So when I say these bad things, I just wanted to remind you that I'm nitpicking at this point. The tactics cards here are just so much better, because every single card that you get excited about. Every time I'm trying to gain these tactic cards, they're just so rewarding, because you go to the Mage Tower in Dwellings to gain more magic cards, and you do that sometimes. Like, you do that sometimes to offset the other actions that you can't take. Like, you go there just because, or maybe it's just convenient for you to go there, or it might be the only spot for you to go. But here, the version of the Mage Tower to go to in Andromeda's Edge is so much more rewarding, because you do want those tactics cards, because they are very impactful and they chain off a lot of different combos and combinations that you just cannot have. You cannot stop playing because it's so much fun and so rewarding. Every card that you get matters, and I love that. The second and only other thing I want to touch on for now is combat. I love combat here. I really liked it in the prototype form. Now that I'm experiencing it here in Andromeda, and now that I played Dwellings and Andromeda in the same month, even though Dwellings has like 100+ plays and Andromeda has like 3 full game plays, combat here in Andromeda is just flat out way more rewarding and way more incentivizing. Reason why is because anyone can join it, and I love that. I love that it encourages everyone around the table to just keep playing together. And I also love that you can like hyperspeed, light speed jump from like one end of the map to another side of the map with your heavy cruiser, which is like your biggest ship. That one hits like a truck with 3 dice. So I love that anyone can join the battle, and I love the whole targeting system. I mentioned this in the prototype review, and it has held true for the final game production, because targeting here makes it so that way it's not punishing. It's not as punishing as Dwellings, which is funny because Dwellings is a lighter game, and I think it is a friendlier game, but it is punishing when it comes to combat because you do have to spend swords if you want more dice. And if you lose that roll, then you're done, unless you play some magic cards to re-roll. Here in Andromeda, you automatically get targeting because if you have like 2 ships, then your targeting becomes 2. So anything that you roll less than 2, you get to re-roll automatically for you and for the raiders. And that right there has been a game changer for combat. I saw the update that Cardboard Alchemy made about this and how they were wondering if it's going to take my #1 spot for Dwellings, but that's a big question, and that's going to get a dedicated video if it comes to that point. So I'm going to wait until Andromeda gets way more plays before even thinking about considering if it can dethrone my #1. Now, continuing the journey in space, I also got to play Arcs. So this game, I will say, made my brain hurt the most, even more than Andromeda. And the reason why is because for Andromeda hurt my brain too, but in a different way. In Arcs, it hurt my brain in a good way because I just don't get the flow of this game. I don't understand it. And how Arcs works is, well, it's totally different now from its prototype form. I played this prototype. It is a completely different beast as well. I love how both of my most anticipated games changed completely from the prototype form. And it definitely has gotten better though. Even though I said it's changed, it's gotten better. So for Arcs, you have this card play up top. It's called like the courtyard. This is like your river of cards. And then in your center map, you now have a circular map that you can travel between across the different planetary regions. And now there's like planets and there's gates, which you want to go into the gate to travel across different planets. And then there's also like one more other region that I can't remember off the top of my head. We only played this once at 3 players. Dennis, I want a rematch. If you're watching this, I want that rematch because I was not happy with how this game turned out for myself. Side note, me and one of my other friends were playing this game, and it was like us head to head. And then Jackie was also the 3rd player that was playing this. She came out of nowhere and just demolished us. Not that we were ignoring her, but more so like, I think we were just in the lead temporarily. And then all of a sudden, both of us out of nowhere just got destroyed by Jackie. And we did not see that coming, which is really funny. But ultimately what you're doing in Arcs is there's this follow the leader type game. It's honestly like Root and Fort put together in space. That is exactly what Arcs is, because it's like Fort in that you're playing this follow the suit. Like one person plays a lead suit card, and then you can choose to follow that suit and take their action, or you can take 2 alternative actions where you're playing a higher number to take the lead, or you're playing a different suit to take 1 action. And I think that part of the game is really fun because the amount of pips that you have on your card will dictate how many actions that you get. So there's a lot of psychological battles that are happening immediately when you're playing that game. And then the actions themselves are immediately like into the action of the game. Like you get right to the fun immediately. That's what I love about Arcs, because there is no downtime. You're summoning ships right away. Your fleet gets taken out. They're out for good in this game. And there's just so many interesting things that are happening in this space opera that they've called it. And it really is that. And the reason why I can't get my head wrapped around it is because I cannot see like how to generate points efficiently in this game. And I think that's a great thing because I haven't had a game challenge me in that way for quite some time. Not to say that I'm good at games, but more so like I've played games so often to the point where I can see the general flow and like the rhythm of how games play out. Because you play games enough, you know that every game has a commonality. Arcs completely challenges that. And I love that I don't know what to do in this game just yet. Like if anything, this game has caused me analysis paralysis, and I very, very rarely ever get AP in any game. Because like you do 1 action and like you know where to go. Here, you do one action and you're like, but do I want to do that? Do I really want to follow through with that? What am I going to do next? Where am I going? And there's so many fun questions that just pop up my head, and my brain is just burning from trying to figure out how this game works and how to beat like other players in this one. And that's why I love Arcs. Arcs is so good. It is delivered across all fronts, and I just cannot get over the fact that it's here along with Andromeda, and both games are just blowing my expectations away. I already had extremely high expectations for both, but the fact that they're here and that they are getting me even more excited to just enjoy this hobby that much more is just, it makes me so happy, y'all. That's what it is. It makes me beyond happy. Okay, so the last and final game that we played this month is the Neopets Battledome trading card game. Go ahead and check out the link to the unboxing that Bantam and I did here if you haven't seen that yet. For me, I grew up with Pokemon, but I never got into like playing the Pokemon trading card game. I've collected it, like the old Gen 1, Gen 2 edition, but I never got into like playing it because the gameplay never really made me enthused about it. Yu-Gi-Oh, yes, 100%. You all know I talk about Yu-Gi-Oh a ton of times on this channel, but I picked up the Neopets Battledome trading card game set, and I'm going to continue collecting this game because it's so much fun. I will say that initially, I think you should give this game a chance because even if I didn't grow up personally with Neopets, I've started to connect with these cards a lot because they look so good and they remind me a lot of Pokemon, which is why I love the artwork and everything. The reason why I love this game so much is because dice are involved and because you can level up and train your Neopets as part of the gameplay. So how this game works is you're playing Neopets and you're ultimately trying to take down the other player's Neopet. And to do so, you're going to train your Neopets every single turn. So not only are you leveling them up, but you're also meeting the requirements of different equipment that you can attach to them as well. And then when you do that, you get higher attack points, you get higher defense points, and then you also have agility, which allows you to re-roll your dice. So that's how the dice can help you mitigate the damage in battle. And the starter decks don't have much dice mitigation at all because they are appealing to like a younger generation or a generation that is just the players that want a very easy game to just get into and play immediately, which I appreciate. But what I love about this game a lot is that the booster packs that you get will add in a lot more complexity to this game if you want that. And for me, I obviously want that. So that's why I love that it's able to bridge the gap between new players and just players that want to collect this game for the nostalgia and maybe play, but then also adds on like the competitive element, and why this is now the second TCG that I've been collecting on top of the Magic, the card game, for Lord of the Rings. That was the first TCG that I collected this year. I stopped for that one because I think they stopped coming out with like the Lord of the Rings sets. And then after that, I'm now moved on to the Neopets stuff. And now I'm itching to just collect this a lot more, which might be not good for my wallet. But yeah, if you're still here, thank you all so much for watching, for hanging out with me as I get to rave about some of the awesome games that I got to play this month. Definitely my favorite by far was Andromeda. Surprise, surprise. Arcs is a very, very close second. And I don't think I have a least favorite this month. Everything this month I enjoyed a lot, which is wonderful. We love playing games that we enjoy instead of games that we like to get rid of. So nothing left the collection this month, which is absolutely a great thing for sure. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it. Can't wait to show you more about Arcs and about the one and only Andromeda. I'll definitely be covering those games a lot more in the upcoming weeks/months at this rate. And if you made it here to the very, very end, go ahead and comment space down below if you made it here, because that is where we're taking the next level of content to. We're taking it to space. Wolfpack, I appreciate you all as always, and I can't wait to share more about all the stuff that we've been doing. And I'll see you all in the next one.